and two special guests to start off the podcast on this Tuesday afternoon. Adam Sobel, director producer from Cubs Productions, and Mike Welsh from Sky Candy Studios. You're asking, who are they and why are they related to this Cubs podcast? Well, I'll tell you why, because they are two of the guys mostly responsible for that unbelievable drone video that the Cubs put together that you saw at the end of the season. Adam, Mike, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you guys jumping on with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us,
Luke. Yeah.
So I guess my first question is, first of all, I watched it. I was in television for 25 years. I've been a cameraman. I've never flown a drone, but I've done lots of editing. I watched it and my mind was blown, first of all. Like, that's one of the coolest videos I've seen. So kudos to you for that. How did the idea, first of all, come about for putting that together? Because I know it's not just, we'll get into the details. It's not just one shot, obviously, but how did the details of like, let's try this come about?
Yeah. First of all, Luke, how do you know it's not one shot? How do you know? How dare
Well,
you
I
spoil
have
things
guesses
already for people?
I have guesses for 2 edit points. I'll tell you later, but I mean, it doesn't
gonna hurt
matter.
when
I
you
don't
get
care
them
if it was
right.
1,000 edits. It was awesome.
Yeah. So the projects came about through Cubs Productions. This was an idea that our executive producer Mito had initially. I actually think the genesis for the idea, though, came from something that Mike and his company had done earlier. There were these drone fly-throughs that a lot of people have seen. There was one amazing one on HBO Hard Knocks of the Cowboys facility, and Mike was responsible for that. And so, we had been talking about what we could do this season. This was, way back in maybe February before the season began. And the idea of doing some sort of fly-through came up, and Matt got in touch with Mike, and we kind of took it from there. And I got extremely excited about the idea of working with Mike because, beyond like the cool things that he's done in sports, he made this drone video in the pandemic that I had seen that went kind of viral. It was of this bowling alley in Minneapolis, right? And it was just like this amazing one take that got picked up by like New York Times. It got picked up on all the outlets. And when I watched it, I was like, this is so cinematic and so cool. And so that's part of what excited me about working on it with him.
Well, I know my buddy Joe Rios is over there, and he was a big part of this too. I mean, you guys did an amazing job, but I know the first time most people saw it, you thought, oh, it's a drone video. And then it flies through the fire truck behind Wrigley Field. Everybody's just kind of, there's like a gasp from anybody I've shown it to, like, how did you get it through the fire truck without crashing the drone?
Yeah, so surprisingly, that's not that hard of a gap because the drone is so small. I mean, the drone's about 1 foot by 1 foot. And you've probably heard about these style of drones. They're the FPV ones where you wear the goggles. So you actually you basically feel like you are the drone when you're flying. So you're able to accomplish those more difficult shots, flying through, pull it up. Flying through a window. We definitely crashed inside the truck once. So it's not like an easy shot, but we got a cool behind the scenes video of that with the fire guys, waving at the drone. But yeah, no, it was just awesome that they were down to be a part of the video. Like, they were so helpful and did everything we asked them to do, and they were just good sports all the way through.
Yeah. My question is, how did everyone react to see, like, how did you get like all these people in Murphy's on the street at Wrigley, and just like, how did you let them know, hey, there's a drone that's going to fly right past your face? Just don't be alarmed.
Right through the window. It was, I think, how do we say it? It's like a lot of those people are planted, right? A lot of those people are people who we work with or friends who we called in for the day and said, hey, could you be involved in this? And then a lot of those people aren't. And the people who aren't, I would just say, like, we have really loud friends who would just like broadcast it before every take, like, drone coming through. Come on, guys. Like, just everybody know we got the drone coming through. Don't look at it. And so it's just a lot of like running up and down the street, running in and out of Murphy's, letting people know this is happening. Joe Rios says, you know, Luke, you like Joe Rios was the producer on this, and he was like, you know, Mr. Hustle, I would say, definitely letting a lot of people know that this was going on. And then we got some happy accidents, like even when we flew through Gallagher Way there, you know, maybe it wasn't by accident, but we realized like, oh, we're gonna have this band playing. They can shout it over the, you know, in between songs. They'll just let everybody know that this is happening. And then actually when they're playing music, they're distracting everybody from the fact that there's a drone coming through, right? So like everybody's listening to the music and they can't even hear the drone coming. So yeah, it was a lot of coordination, some luck, a lot of takes, a few crashes, and yeah, good fun.
And like after like the third time you fly it through Murphy's, people are kind of bored with it. The first couple times you got frat boys flicking it off, and you know you're gonna have some unusable takes. But the third time it's kind of like, okay, we've seen that, like we're good. So that's the key, is just run it more than 3 times, and you'll get a good take.
Unbelievable. So the technical questions. The one guess on the first dissolve, or maybe second dissolve, is it when it goes through the scoreboard and you get the white light coming through from Wrigley Field? Is that an edit point there? Can you tell us where the edit points are?
Well, I can tell you that that is not an edit point, and yet it's a fantastic guess. And it's kind of like Mike was he was a little upset actually during the shoot, because I was like, you know, that's a perfect spot for an edit if we need to add one. If we're like the start, you know, like the first half of this take, but we're not in love with the second half, we can always swap it out there. And I was like, look, at like even like we're blowing out there. And so Mike was like, no, but it's not an edit. I don't want people thinking it's an edit. That's gonna. And so it's actually not an edit, but it almost should be. So it would be like the perfect spot for an edit, but it's not one.
Unbelievable. Gosh, I have so many questions. So like I assume it's being shot at like, are you shooting it at full speed? I don't understand how the drone is going so fast, and yet the people, it must be at regular speed because the people are walking at regular speed. But I thought to myself, well, there's no way they're flying a drone that fast because they'd be crashing it all over the place. Is it regular speed? Did you mess with the speed somehow?
It's mostly regular speed. There's some areas where we wanted to get through it a little quicker, and I think we bumped it up to 110, maybe 115. But I would say 80% is real time. Wow. Yeah, so it's yeah, I mean the drone flies pretty fast. It's you know, you can get up to 35 miles an hour with this drone. But like I said before, what's nice about it is it's so small, and it actually weighs under 250 grams. So it's almost like nothing. It's if you felt it, you'd be like, this is an absolute toy. So it's pretty incredible when you actually see the drone flying around.
It's like you're flying a feather or something. Like it's just letting it go.
It's a kite.
I was amazed, like when the drone showed up, because we were talking about flying through the window, and like, you know, I've never shot with this type of drone before, and so, like, I don't know how to describe. It's like I've eaten slices of pizza bigger than this drone. You know, like this drone is not that big, and so when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's what we're dealing with here. Yeah, we really can go like in and out of really tight spaces, and we really can you know, kind of buzz very close to people as well, because it's padded and it's super light, like Mike said, so it's not going to do any sort of, you know, damage.
And that's kind of like the game changer with these drones, is they're so safe. You're able to fly them incredibly close to people. So we've been able, like we flew this drone like a foot away from like Rihanna's head, and these lawyers are starting to sign off because they look at it and they're like, oh, this actually is an incredibly, like there's no risk here. And so it's making these type of productions possible where, you know, before, if you don't have those prop guards, you could cut someone. It's like definitely not worth, you know, trying to do a shoot like this. But now that the safety's been bumped up, we can do it.
How did you pick the day? Obviously, like it's a 120 start, Cubs, you know, at Wrigley Field, but it's like you could have ran into rain. It could have been like crazy wind. It could have been no one there. Like how'd you come up with the right day to do it?
Yeah, that was a tough. So we did actually we gave ourselves a 3-day window. So we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We picked a weekend series. We did this during the Mets series because we knew, you that's a marquee matchup, right? You're going to have a pretty packed house generally. And we had really bad weather on Friday. We had like terrible rain, foggy conditions. Saturday, when we shot most of the shots that end up in the final piece, like the conditions are pretty foggy. It's overcast. It was not a beautiful day to fly the drone. It was windy too. And then Sunday was even worse. So to be honest, like we did not really, we weren't feeling great about things on the day of the shoot because we're like, oh, this is not, the perfect sunshine and fresh air Wrigley Field that you want to see.
Mhm.
But I think that's even more of a testament to like the final product, that people don't seem to be noticing that. They just seem to be kind of keyed in on how cool it is, and
Yeah.
even like how emotional it is for some people. So that part's great for us.
That was what I was gonna say. The one thing that I wish that it would have been was there was more sun, because I just feel like that would have made it even better. But hey, it's an incredible video.
It really is.
You.
The Dingers podcast on the YouTube feed saying beautiful video, most scenic views in all of baseball. Thank you, Michael, for bringing the beautiful sights and sounds of Wrigley of a Friday 120. I think most Cubs fans, I think I've seen every view of Wrigley Field that there is possible. Every closet, the scoreboard, all of it. But I've never seen Wrigley Field or Wrigleyville that way in what looks like and feels like one shot. I mean, I just can't get over it. Now, there's no way baseball let you guys onto the field with the drone. Am I wrong about that? Like, I can't imagine that Major League Baseball was like, yeah, fly a drone over our park. How did you get Seiya running out of the dugout from what looks like, again, one shot, like you're coming up the hallway and it times to him running out onto the field? How did that happen?
Yeah. So I guess that's like, the sport, amazing drone videos, that it is not all drone. It's not all shot with the drone. Wow. So we actually, had planned to shoot the whole thing with the drone. We had sign off from everybody. We were going to fly the drone out. And then a few days before the shoot, it was like, oh, wait a minute, somebody changed their mind. We're like, no, we're not flying a drone out on the field. That's a bad idea. And so we had to then quickly find a different solution. So actually, there's two shots in the finished piece that are not on drone. It's a small gimbal camera. For the final shot, Michael actually, I love it because it was like one of the parts of the deal, I guess, that we had with Michael's company is like they were going to get a suite at the game. And so on Sunday, Michael's at the game, gonna take it in with a bunch of friends after we had finished shooting. But we had to get this last shot with Seiya because we got it on Saturday and we were happy with it, but we wanted to try tweak it a little bit. And so Michael was like, man, I'm going to go to the suite, kind of get ready. And then I'll come back for just before first pitch. And I'll do this last shot where we run out of the field. And it's like a long run. People underestimate how long that run is from the dugout to right field. And Seiya, is like a world-class athlete, right? So he's not going to loaf out there. He's got the fans there cheering him on. And Mike had been like, we've been shooting all day. That was like a 1 hour break where Mike's like, gonna have a hot dog, gonna have a beer, and then gonna run, 300 feet to chasing Seiya Suzuki with this gimbal camera. And, he did an amazing job, but I don't think it was like nearly as easy as probably we would have liked it to be, or you thought it'd be initially.
Yeah, everyone was saying it looked like I was working really hard to keep up with someone who was barely jogging. And that's exactly what it was. I was completely out of breath, and I was most nervous for that shot because I was like, what if I trip up the stairs? Or like, I don't know. It was just timing it out was a little scary, but it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, you did great considering how hard it is.
Yeah. I mean, he did an amazing job.
Up and down, huffing and puffing.
Well, and when you run with a gimbal, obviously you want to keep it as smooth as possible. So you get this like kind of a weird run. I got some behind the scenes video of it. I looked absolutely ridiculous, but anything for the shot.
Yeah. So obviously that drop, during the last homestand, I think it was that Saturday, what was the feeling like kind of leading up to that, knowing like you guys put the finishing touches on it, it's ready to go, and then the feeling afterwards of seeing the reaction from, you know, Cubs fans or Twitter or whoever it was?
Yeah, I'll just say personally, like it was exciting. It was a relief in some ways to be releasing it, because we were kind of, I would say, putting the finishing touches on it for a while. So, you know, we were waiting with great anticipation to get it out there. And then, you know, I thought it was really good, and I have felt that about other things that have made, and you have a good feeling, but you're just not positive that, you know, you don't know how it's going to be received. And I would say, you know, expectations, like it's done awesomely well. And it's amazing just to read people's feedback about, you know, yeah, there's like a lot of people who are just impressed by the cool factor, which is awesome. That's what, you know, that's what we're going for. But then there are a lot of people who are, you know, touched by how we've showed off the neighborhood, or because they feel like it's kind of captured their experience of going to the ballpark, right? And so those yes, that I think elevates it for me, and just makes it special.
I mean, awesome job, guys. I literally can't say that enough. Like it's one of the coolest sports videos I've ever seen, and to do it at Wrigley Field, hats off, job well done. And I look forward to the sequel when you guys do it at the next Cubs World Series game in a couple years. That's the plan. And Mike, no hot dogs before you shoot that one. I want you to be ready to go for that one.
That's right.
No,
Just coffee.
Mike's proven he can do it with a hot dog or two. Like he's good to go. He's always
and a beer.
And a beer.
Built different.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, thanks, guys. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but we really appreciate it. Again, it's Sky Candy Studios. Mike Welsh, the cinematographer, and Adam Sobel, Joe Rios, and all the guys over at Cubs Productions, directors, producers, everybody involved. Literally, that's as good as it gets. Job well done.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great job, guys.
Sure.
Thanks for coming
Thank you,
on.
guys.